Good morning, everyone. TJ Ald's I-45 now. As I said, we'd be on between 6:30 and 7 here this morning as we get the updated numbers out of Galveston and Harris County. So let me give you the progress report here. Galveston County finished up all the mail-in ballot votes at around 2 a.m. this morning. So the totals we'll be showing you out of Galveston County in a little bit are essentially final. There are just a handful, 11 ballots that were provisional ballots that were out there. Those even have to go through several steps before they're even approved, and then if they're counted. So they're not going to make any difference in any of these elections out of Galveston County, those provisional ballots. Not sure which primaries they're from or not, but the mail-in ballots, the only left ones there are two things left. The mail-in ballots that were mailed by time yesterday but arrived today. Then there's a couple of days left for overseas ballots. Not many of those that are out there, so they're not going to make any difference. But the final count will be in a little bit later. So now let's go ahead and give you an update, though, however, because Harris County is still counting Election Day votes. They have done their early vote tallies. They've done their mail-in vote tallies. But what they don't have are their numbers from the Election Day numbers. Now, where does that matter to us? Well, for our viewers in the Clear Lake area, that's going to matter in Harris County judges race in the GOP primary. Lena Hidalgo easily is going to take the Democratic primary there seeking a re-election. And then Adrian Garcia for County Commissioner Precinct 2 also is going to take that. Where it comes in is taking a look at any of the final numbers that come in on the GOP side of things, their challengers, potential challengers in the GOP race for Harris County Judge, as well as Harris County Precinct 2. Now, Precinct 2, Harris County Republican primary, it's going to be headed to a runoff of some sort. It totally appears like it's just a matter of if it changes the percentage numbers up there at all. The other side it affects is, as you see on your screen right now, State Senate 11, District 11. Now, why is that there? Mays Middleton has 56% of the vote. This is the state numbers I'm showing you right now. 56.51 numbers. So that's all of it right in here. And so what we're going to be looking at here is, okay, he's got that percentage. Can they catch up? Well, not sure. But what I want to go ahead and show you here is we're going to go ahead and go into the details of this race. This is from the Secretary of State's office. If you take a close look at that chart there, it shows Brazoria County, Galveston County, everything's in. All the precincts have reported in there. So those numbers pretty solid out there. It's Harris County that will make a difference here. And whether it's enough of a difference, however, to force a runoff, I don't know. It's 56% of the vote. And really, when you see it on the percentage-wise, you don't see that change a whole lot in here. But we know that Bianca Gracia was very aggressive at Harris County. She did a lot better than a lot of people may have thought from the outside. But you can't underestimate, she was president of Latinos for Trump. She has a huge mailing list, has an aggressive campaigning out there. And so while a political novice as far as running for office, she knows what it's like to get out and drum up the vote, more so than Bob Mitchell or Robin Armstrong. But Bob Mitchell is expected to be stronger in that Clear Lake area, and a combination of numbers for him and the numbers for Gracia, could they, and that's a stress, could they bring Mays Middleton down to a runoff? It's unlikely at 56%, even here, as I say. The mail-in ballots particularly are one thing, but Election Day kind of mirrors what you saw in the early vote percentage-wise in there. So if that holds up where Mays Middleton is holding that 54 to 65%, like we saw in the other counties, then he holds on and avoids a runoff. That's all we're talking about here. We're not talking about anything other than, does it go to a runoff? Possibly. Not really sure at this point. But again, take a look again of that. That's just that district, that Senate district. 15 of the 72 precincts in Harris County that are in District 11, State Senate District 11, have not been counted yet. That's a lot of them. So we're not going to call that here. We're going to wait on that one. But again, Brazoria County, Galveston County, numbers look strong for Middleton, who spent a lot of money in his own campaign, moved to Galveston just to be able to be eligible for this race because he lived in Chambers County as the state rep for House District 23. So that is that race there. Let's go ahead and, speaking of Harris County, let's go ahead and get into some of the Harris County races while we're in on the GOP side here as well. I'm going to switch over now to our numbers from the Harris County side of things. And again, not everything has been counted here in Harris County. So that's going to be, a key thing for us to look at. And here we're going to bring up, this is the Democratic primary here. Let me bring this up a little bit more for you so you can see it a little bit better. All right. So as I told you, Lena Hidalgo is cruising to victory there with 70% of the vote. So she'll win that no matter how many votes are still out there. Those percentages are not going to really change there. And County Commissioner Precinct 2, Adrian Garcia, again, is 75%. Again, this will pretty much hold through. It may drop a little bit percentage-wise, but he'll avoid the runoff as well and is going to take that victory. So that's what we know on the Democratic side out of Harris County for those races. Let's go ahead now and go to the Republican side in Harris County, and we'll bring that up for you right now. Give me a sec. And there we go. All right. So now what you're seeing there, that is just strictly the Harris County numbers for State Senate 11. That, when you've got, since it's several counties, you got to take it a little different. So I wanted to come to this one to focus on because we've already covered State Senate 11 here. Jack Mormon, Richard Vega, Daniel Jason, Jerry Mouton, and John Manlove in that race there. Right now, as we had gone off at midnight last night, it looks like to be a runoff between Mormon as well as Mouton there. I don't see where Manlove, the former Pasadena mayor, can get into that runoff race there. But again, that's another one of those in which, it's, not all of the precincts have counted in yet. Still waiting on those numbers out of election day. These are not like absent mail-in ballots or something like that we're waiting on. These are election day ballots. Now the other is Harris County judge on the GOP side. Who's going to face Lena Hidalgo in November? Now, right now, Alexandra Del Morel Mailer, maybe not known to a whole lot of folks, impressive resume. Harvard graduate, went to West Point, commanded troops in battle, and got the endorsement of Jim McIngvale, Mattress Mac, and that has seemed to really help her because going into this, Vidal Martinez was kind of considered the favorite here. And right now, though, it's Mailer who is leading the way over Martinez, 30.33% of the vote to Martinez's 25.31%. And then Martina Lamont Dixon trailing at third place, way behind. So this is on the way to a runoff. We'll see how the numbers pan out, but don't see where anyone can gain enough ground to be able to take in one of those two spots outside of Mailer and Martinez, who are going to be heading to a runoff here, even with the number of voting counts election day. Still not calling that, though, because it is so much undecided. And I'll explain more of that here in a little bit. So that's the election. That's the side on the Republican side of things and the Democratic side of things in Harris County to kind of explain those. So, all right. So now we'll go into our more local races here, including the state numbers, and to give you the numbers on that. Let me adjust my camera here just slightly. All right. So Texas State Rep 23. These are our statewide numbers here. Patrick GURSKI got 31.36% of the vote to Terry Leo Wilson's 28.16% of the vote. So close between the top two. They will be headed to a runoff here The winner of that faces Keith Henry in November. Keith Henry was the lone Democrat. He's the Texas City Commissioner. He ran unopposed. Henry at first announced he was running for county judge in Galveston County, then jumped over into the race for State District 23 that Mays Middleton is not running for because he's running for Senate 11. So that's where that race stands right there. So again, so GURSKI and Wilson in, and these numbers here are with all final totals in on that, because that's that doesn't include any. Harris County is not part of that district, so that will be a runoff between GURSKI and Wilson. We're going to be working to have another forum. If you remember, we had 3 forums with those state reps candidates, and it was only one in which we had both GURSKI and Wilson at the same time. GURSKI had COVID at one point and was out, so we hope to have TERRI Wilson, by the way, former state school board member. So she's run for office before. This is GURSKI's first time to run for office. So we're going to be hopefully getting those 2 back on for an I-45 Now forum, where we're going to tackle a lot of the issues along the way. Pat McGinnis, as we pointed out, dominated and won re-election as the GOP chair handily. This is just a change in the numbers after the mail-in ballots were there. He got a bigger lead when that was all said and done. So there is the numbers that you've gotten from the state GOP. The big race, a lot of folks were watching in Galveston County, wasn't even close all night. Hank DUGIE, victorious as the Galveston County treasurer, in beating the incumbent Kevin Walsh, who had been in office since 2003. DUGIE running on the platform that he was going to eliminate the office of county treasurer. A lot of folks saying, well, you can't do that on your own. He never said he could, by the way. Just he said he needs the legislature, and I challenged him on this at our forum on this, and he said, listen, I'm going to go ahead and start shifting personnel. Yes, I'm gonna hold the office. He says he's not going to take the salary. It's about $112,000 plus benefits there while in office, but he will do the main job he needs to. But he's going to spend more of his time actually in Austin to convincing the legislature to put onto the ballot so that Galveston County can eliminate or have the choice. That's a key thing here too. Choice to eliminate the office. Now, whether that happens or not, this bodes well, but this is just a primary. Doesn't mean the overall vote, but a lot of times when you get to vote to eliminate an office, the voters roll will go for that most times. But again, Hank DUGIE, easy win in that race there. County Commissioner Precinct 4, Ken Clark, reelected, the longtime County Commissioner Precinct 4 in there. Off the campaign trail a lot because of health issues, not because of his cancer, which he's talked about as so much as it was that he broke a hip and after he was doing some work and fell. And so he was out of commission. He was in the hospital for several days. The matter of fact, the day we were supposed to do a forum, he was in the hospital and he was out. But he, even despite that, as he'd actually told me privately on the phone, I say privately, it was an interview, but said that said people knew his record, and it seems to show here as he wins that primary. There is no Democrat running, so Ken Clark will be reelected as County Commissioner Precinct 4. This was the first race we called a winner in last night because it was dominant from the start. Judge KERRI Foley, County Court number 2, ends up with 23,000 votes, more than 23,000 votes here, 83.9, almost 84% of the vote there. Not much of a challenge for her in that race. Todd Lee had gotten in the race, but real big political newcomer. Actually had not been involved in the party until she decided to run for this election. Put up in many ways by folks over in the Bolivar Peninsula who were upset on a ruling that KERRI Foley had concerning the rollover pass. But that fell by the wayside now as KERRI Foley winning re-election easily with 23,000 of the vote there. Then we go into Galveston County District Court Judge, 122nd District. Jeff Jones winning that one. You see he ran up his totals a little bit. And I misspoke on the last one last night, and I knew this. Kristie Walsdorf is the lone Democrat. She won a nomination for the Democrats in that. So we will have a challenge race in November Jeff Jones versus Kristie Walsdorf. So we'll be having an actual race, and we will hold a forum between the two of those as we get closer to that November election. County Commissioner Justice of the Peace, Precinct 2. This was the one which I wanted to wait until we saw the mail-in ballots come in, because there are a lot of mail-in ballots to come from that West County part, Santa Fe, Hitchcock, and the like. And it showed that it did. But it benefited Blake APFFEL, who increased his percentage lead as well as his vote totals. So APFFEL, 5,038 votes over Mike Nelson, the incumbent, 4,601 votes. There is no Democrat in this race, so APFFEL will move on there. It is not within the percentage points to ask for a hand recount here, because it has to be within 1%. But Blake APFFEL is going to win his first race and will be the new Justice of the Peace out of Precinct 2. Had a lot of struggle. Obviously, his family, you're going to know one of those names right out there. Dad, Darrell APFFEL, County Commissioner. So that's one of the things there. So Blake APFFEL will be the new Justice of the Peace out of Precinct 2 in Galveston County. And just if I can take it as a side note, we want to be able to thank Mike Nelson for his years of service to this county. One of the things I admired about Judge Nelson, listen, while he was a Democrat for many years, he was as Republican as they get. It was Democrat in name only, purely. Very tough on you, very fair though at the same time. And this is a guy that survived a heart transplant, came back. At a time in which the Republicans were dominating everywhere, he decided to still run as a Democrat and said, listen, as the party had left him, but I've been a Democrat, I'm not going to abandon it. He lost his seat because of that to Jim Schweitzer. Came back and ran again after his heart surgery, and ran as a Republican and won that seat. But Mike has done a lot of great work. He's well liked by many people. This really was not a vote against anyone here, as much as it was just some folks saying maybe needed a change here, and Blake APFFEL winning that. But I don't want to dwell too much on it, but thank you to Mike Nelson, who I've known for many years in covering politics, elections here in Galveston County, particularly. So again, I mentioned this to you before, Patrick GURSKI, Terry Leo Wilson headed to a runoff for State Rep 23. The winner of that runoff faces Keith Henry coming up in November. And then, as I said, we went over this one already. Mays Middleton looking to avoid the runoff here. Harris County still not in, and just to be safe, I'm not calling that one here. Other people have, and in fact, I've had some criticism from folks. This is not anything other than I just want to see what those numbers are, because not enough of the election day count from Harris County. I don't know how many votes are sitting out there, but there's only 17 of those in so far, and we got to see the election day numbers coming in. We had a lot of interest in, not normally one that gets a lot of interest in, it's in the Texas State Board of Education. Julie Pickering, dominant all night. But again, here, this was one we wanted to wait up on, but declaring her a winner now, 65,000 votes, 50.47% of the vote. She had to stay above that 50% to avoid the runoff, because that was the only thing I was questioning, was whether it was going to be her and Barton for a runoff. I doubt there's enough votes out there to change the percentage. And when I say those provisional ballots and the last day mail-in ballots, and then the overseas ballots, that could change that one there, but I doubt that we'll see that. And in the race for Democratic nominee for Congress, Texas 14, Michael Williams, who lost out to Adrian Bell the last time around. As for the Democratic nomination, Eugene Howard most of the night was leading the way, and then it went back to Michael Williams and went back to Eugene Howard. But now Michael Williams, this is really close, 50.25% of the vote. We're going to see if the Howard camp decides they want a hand recount in this. It is close enough to do so here, is it's only a difference of about a little over 100 votes here. 106 votes, I think, is the last count I had on that. So that we'll see that. Should point out, though, is it was an interesting thing, and he addressed it here, is that Eugene Howard actually does not live in the congressional district he is running for. And in fact, you don't have to in the state of Texas. That's one of the rare exceptions where you don't have to live in the actual district. And he doesn't. He lives just outside of it, actually. He's nearby, active in Brazoria County, the president of the NAACP there. But should just point it out, and I was pointing out Michael Williams is a lawyer out of Kemah. So he's a Galveston County product here. Randy Weber easily cruising to renomination for the GOP to hold on to his seat, and will be the heavy favorite against Michael Williams, or if somehow Eugene Howard pulls it out. This is a tough road to hoe for any Democrat in this congressional district, and Randy Weber dominating there, 89.23. His opponents, I mean, just be honest with you folks, his opponents had no business being in the race to begin with. We wanted everyone to run, but they were not really running any real campaigns, had no real issues. Ruben Dante, who we saw a little bit more of, even himself said Randy Weber is the best congressman he'd ever seen. So, unless you have a contrasting value there, but it's a race, got to go through the process. And again, Randy Weber easily winning that. So we've got the totals we have up in the text area there. Again, as numbers change on that Harris County vote, we'll update those throughout the day. Now, to kind of explain that Harris County situation. So the new state laws, SB 1, requires that all the numbers be turned in by 7 o'clock tonight, is the requirement by the law. Now, Harris County did file for a possible extension that can be granted here, particularly in the primary sides, but the party chairs seem to be in a disagreement on some things. Now, why there was a holdup, there was a couple of things. One, the system folks that saw where you slide in the paper to go in, so there's an actual paper ballot. After you vote electronically, it prints it on a paper ballot. You take it, it scans through, goes into a lockbox. I almost did this, by the way, where I was putting in all the sheets at the same time. You're supposed to put in one at a time. I was accidentally, just out of habit, like you would do on a printer, started putting them in, and then I had to pull them out. And I just stopped myself, asked for help, because I didn't want to crinkle that ballot, because if you do, it won't scan properly, it won't read properly. So it would have to be redone, duplicated from the reading of the paper, and then that just slows down the process. That was part of the problem. They've had a lot of those that happened, it seems, and held up some of the count of the election day counts coming in out of Harris County. But state law requires that all the results begin by 7 o'clock tonight. Harris County says they'll make it there. We're looking at that. It's been slow most of the night. They'll probably get re-geared back up here this morning. Technically, you're not supposed to stop the count either. So they may have had just a skeleton crew. All the boxes should be in by now. It's a matter of just getting those votes counted and into the system, and we'll see. And it'll probably come in these kind of big clumps. That's normally what happens is in these situations, they'll just focus on the count and not putting out the numbers. They'll do the count, and then they'll come out of there. For those who want to say, oh, this is an overnight fraud or anything like that, covered many elections, folks. Delays are normal on these things. This is about a process of making sure that it goes with the law. And that's been going on. Not saying that that folks don't have mistrust here, but let's understand something. You'll see the face of the elections office, in this case, Longoria, out of Harris County, the elections administrator. That's not the person that's actually counting the votes. The folks actually counting the votes are folks from each party that are in there doing it. The Democrats on the Democrat side, Republicans on the Republican side, they're volunteers. I say they're volunteers. They're paid for their time, but they're volunteers. They've signed up for this. They've gone through training and in doing this work. So understand something. When you folks who want to just kind of say, oh, that this is a fraud thing, it's not. Let's just stop with that rhetoric right now before anyone starts it. It's not. Because we've had elections over the years, they've all been delayed. At some point, I have had very few elections which were done by 10 o'clock at night, which a lot of people would like to have, because there's always this kind of 10 o'clock, the 10 o'clock news. We got to have it there. Technically, that was never the case. The official result, that's why you see unofficial tally on things. That's my soapbox on that. Covered many elections. I had a talk with White Sullivan, the the county clerk in Galveston County last night, and he was saying, "Listen, everything's going smooth. It's just a time-consuming process," and he's right. The early vote, the mail-in ballots took a while to do it. They do them in those batches. They separate them up. That's part of the security procedures Galveston County has in place. But I've been through the training. I have watched the training that they have had with their election workers, and that's a hardy bunch that's out there. A lot of them are experienced. They have a lot of new ones too now, but it is still that that manual factor that goes in there, and that's going to delay things. A lot of folks will say, "Well, let's just do it electronic and move on." There are a lot of folks on the other side that say, "No, we need to have a paper trail." And so the new system now is putting in that you do vote electronically, but then you put in the paper, and it actually takes it, and you can actually physically look at that piece of paper and determine, yes, that was my vote. Yes, you can actually see it. Then you take that over, and it's scanned again and dropped in a lockbox, and it doesn't get touched again until it gets back to the mail center. So just so you understand the process of how it's going, and we're going to be doing an extensive story on this for the November election. We want to get past the primary on that. So our final results for Galveston County particularly are up. The only thing I'm kind of looking at right now is those Harris County numbers as they still have their vote going on. We'll update those a little bit later today. We appreciate everyone watching. I'm TJ Alt, I-45 Now. Have a good day.